All right, everyone, welcome back into another fantasy golf video. Going to be doing my first, fantasy golf live stream in a minute here. It's literally probably been 2 years since I did a fantasy golf live stream. Excited to get into it. If you guys have any questions, make sure to get those in. I know we'll have people coming in and out throughout this video. Kind of a surprise live stream on the 9 to 5 Golf YouTube channel. Also had the stream going on the 9 to 5 Twitter account. So testing it out. Probably going to be a quick video here for you guys. Nothing too crazy, but I want to get into my final thoughts, give you guys some round one coverage here as well. So it's kind of going to be as simple as that. I already came out with all the coverage and my thoughts for this week already and a lot of write-ups. So let's go ahead and get into it. I kind of just touched on the preview of it. I do want to start out with getting into a little bit of props-based content here. And so I think that that's going to be a good starting point. And then you guys kind of see the order of operations that we're going to get into for this video. So let me go ahead and start out with that. Let me get the screen ready for you guys, and then we'll be good to go. All right. So here we go. So looking at, guys, from a prize pick standpoint, I do want to point out that the lines that we are getting on prize picks seem to be a little bit lower than they probably should be. And we don't need this. This is how long ago it's been, guys, since the Puerto Rico Open. I'll take that off for it. But especially in comparison to something like Underdog and really just the average sportsbook line, we can see that a lot of the lines that we're getting, especially based off of years past, and you got to remember it's a 70-man field event. It's not a full tournament field event. So in theory, the course number should be a little bit lower than they have been in years past. And so I don't mind the idea of betting some of these over for Shane Lowry, for Keegan Bradley, for Ricky. The issue that I have with those prop bets that we're getting right now is that those prop bets are all probably going to be pushes. Okay. At 3 for those lines, they're probably going to be pushes. So I don't exactly love that. Then we look at the other ones that we're getting. We're not getting any worthwhile prop bets from that point on. If we look at it from a, prop line difference standpoint, that is also the case. We're really not getting that big of prop line differences across either site. The biggest one that we have here is going to be Colin Morikawa for fairways hit. And I don't mind that. I really like the idea of betting that one both ways. So you'd bet the over 8.5 fairways hit on something like Underdog. Then on prize picks, you'd be betting the under. That's really the only good one that we have. That's really the only good one on paper that we have. I'll show you guys it from an Underdog perspective as well. You guys will also see really not a big edge there as well. So give it a second to load. Again, it's kind of crazy. So now that we have the prize picks lines in there, it's really favoring these fantasy score prop bets to be betting the over with. I really don't mind that. And I really don't mind the idea of stacking it. You're going to be betting on how the course is going to play. Obviously, this is going to be a reduced payout. I don't mind those prop bets. My biggest concern with some of those bets like that is that you could just do under bogeys avoided. Like Corey Connors, Chris Kirk, they're at 3.5 bogeys. And so if you just bet the under on that, that pretty much correlates pretty well with the fantasy score prop bets that we are getting. But I don't mind that. I mean, we are getting some decent edges, and we got Corey Connors right there. So nothing too crazy. I wouldn't say we need to go crazy with really anything here. It's round one. And with that, let's actually jump into a little bit more of round one showdown stuff. So again, give me a second to get that geared up and ready to go. If you guys have any questions or comments, I'd be happy to answer those as they come in. So, put those in. Be happy to answer those as well. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for the week that we have. Mostly for Myrtle Beach, honestly. I think that's going to be a fun one. But looking at it from a showdown standpoint for the Wells Fargo round one, we don't have to do anything crazy, guys. They really made the tee times all together. They're a little bit worried about weather. Weather doesn't seem to be a big factor, though, now for round one, especially because of what they did. So there's no reason to do any sort of tee time edge or anything like that. And so really, if we just look at it showdown rank-wise, if you guys want to do best ball drafts based off of this, you can. I got pretty lucky with the best ball draft earlier. I had the first pick, and I had the choice to go with Xander or Rory. I went with Xander because that's what the data told us to do, but then I was able to go, I forget who it was. I think it was Cameron Young and then Hideki on the turn, and I felt pretty good about that. So we are getting some decent edges, and really this week for first round leader, obviously Obear's no longer in it. I'm kind of fine just betting Xander first round lead, Rory first round lead, Cantlay, Young. I don't know how I feel about Hideki. I'm a little bit worried about Hideki in a week before a major. He typically uses these as more of a tune-up week. That's my biggest concern right there. And then Homa, I'm fine with. I think he's a solid option. But if you're looking for some good value, maybe first round leader wise, or maybe top 10, top 5, first round leader wise, I guess it wouldn't be first round leader, but round 1 wise, Siwoo Kim and Alex Noren would be 2 good options there. Let's actually see there. I thought I had a page queued up. We did get a question coming in. Let's go ahead and answer that while I'm trying to get into that other page. I do have a Myrtle Beach video up kind of already. It's mixed in with the Wells Fargo Championship coverage. Really didn't need a double dip too much. And honestly, with it being for like PGA Derby Fest purposes, I didn't really want to come out with a video because that really reduces the edge for me personally. And so I didn't want to do that. But there was some of it for betting purposes. That was attached to the betting video that comes out on Tuesdays. So you can check that out there. But yeah, let me jump back into the first round leader stuff as well. Again, if anyone has any questions, be happy to answer those. Let's see here. So yeah, first round lead. I'm curious, like Noren and Siwoo, both players I don't mind. I like Siwoo for an outright bet. Noren first round lead, not the best odds, 40-1. Honestly, that's probably not the best, but maybe you could bet him like again, like on BetMGM where they pay out the ties. Probably not a terrible option. Then Siwoo Kim and see what his first round leader rank is. That's a little bit better. I view Siwoo Kim as a much better player than Alex Noren for this week. Now, Alex Noren, I was a little bit surprised at the day I didn't like that much. I'll show you guys here. So like Noren, I don't really get why it doesn't like it as much. It's probably just the miscut because besides that, really strong play across the board. I mean, 15 straight made cuts, obviously coming in off that third place finish. It probably is just the miscut. 52nd there. Maybe not the best specialist in a week where it's a loaded field. Maybe that's why he's coming in as the 34th best pick this week, but I kind of get it. I kind of don't. And then Siwoo Kim as well. Siwoo Kim's just going to be a better play on paper across the board. 5th best specialist, 4th best staff fit, 7th best in recent form. So to me, like I love chasing plays like that, especially for first round lead, maybe top 10, top 5. I'm not going to look up those odds, but because there's some that bets on BetMGM, I think that'd be a good route to go. And then obviously it's a 70-man field event. We're not going to get the best first round leader odds on Rory and Xander, but they are the top dogs. Cameron Young, I'll toss in there. Then who was another one? Cantlay. Let's see what Cantlay's odds are. I mean, not bad. 18-1 for Xander. You can get 16-1 for Rory, FanDuel, and DraftKings, really most of them except for BetMGM. So don't bet Rory first round lead on BetMGM. Cameron Young, 33-1, BetMGM. It's always weird to me, like those random different lines that we are getting. So interesting there. Patrick Cantlay, 25-1 across the board. So no big edges really there for him. Real quickly, let's just jump into any EV bets that we are potentially getting as well. Let's see here. Nothing too crazy. Points bet, Bazoon, how to top 20. I don't exactly like that one. Tom Kim, I don't exactly like as well. Kind of unfortunate. The one that I liked the best was just Harris English, top 20. That wasn't an EV bet at all. We're not really getting any EV bets for him. But if you were going to make that points bet, DraftKings would be the 2 best ones. So if you were to bet, let's say, for instance, $10 on him on one of those sites, it'd only pay out like 75 cents better. But it's all about making the best decision possible. And that's kind of where I see there. Let's see here. Outright wise. Let's get into that. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to actually just reference the 9 to 5 write-up here while I do that. And this is available weekly for anyone that's been following the channel as well. So be on the lookout for that every week. Really been coming out with that for the past like 5-6 years now. Let's see. So this week for outright wise, I do really like the idea of really not going too heavy outright wise, specifically for the Wells Fargo Championship, for the Myrtle Beach Classic. I'm almost too heavy, and I'll get into that in just a second here as well. But my outright bets for the Wells Fargo Championship: Siwoo Kim, Xander, Wyndham Clark. I think everyone's on Wyndham Clark. Matt Fitzpatrick, I feel like he's a unique one that I don't know. Not many people are on it. I feel like this is just a good spot for him. And then Harris English, basically for the exact same reasons as I like Matt Fitzpatrick, it's going to be as to why I like Harris English. But I think the best bets that we are getting are going to be these ones, top 20 bets for Harris English, Austin Eckroat, and then Taylor Moore. Those are the best spots for me this week. But yeah, real quickly, let's touch on these guys real quick. Siwoo, Xander, Clark, Matt Fitzpatrick, and Harris English. And then I'll touch on the Myrtle Beach outright bets as well. So Siwoo, we already got pulled up there. Let's get Xander in there. Xander, we are still getting enough good odds. I don't think it's too thin. And honestly, it's Xander. I'm on him every single week. It almost seems like, maybe not outright wise, but DFS wise. He's just one of the easiest plays every single week, DFS wise, and it's tough to quit. All right, so we got the 5 in there. And again, it's a 70-man field event, so you don't want to be loading up too much on outright bets. And again, the odds that we are getting are much better for the Myrtle Beach Classic. That is where I think we are getting the biggest edges this week. But looking at guys, Xander Schauffele, obviously the best pick in the 9 to 5 model. Great course history here. Second, 14th place finishes. Strong staff it across the board. I mean, the worst metric that we're looking at is going to be his course history, where he has finished second and 14th. I really think that sums up how good of a play Xander is this week. And let's see, what are the odds that we are still getting on him this week? Here we go. Xander. And we'll go to outright. Still 10-1 or so. So not bad. 10-1 on DraftKings in a 70-man field event, where to me, it's really Rory or Xander are the two clear-cut options. Maybe more so for DFS, but betting purposes, that kind of aligns as well. Could toss in Wyndham Clark in there, but it's a big gap, I think. Rory, Xander, Wyndham Clark, and then another decent gap. So to get Xander at 10-1 odds, I feel pretty good about that. Obviously, coming in, checking all the boxes. Then from there, Wyndham Clark, maybe not as appealing. And honestly, being the defending champ, that's something I don't love. And really not the best form. He comes in 17th best in the field. Okay, but second best stat fit, 8th best specialist. And he has been really tuning up for events like this. So it does make sense why a lot of people are on him. And it does make sense why I'm going to be on him as well. 14-1 though, that's kind of my concern. Is, coming in with the 17th best recent form to only give us 14-1 odds. Don't exactly love that part of it. But at the same time, that's what we had this week in a limited field event. Siwoo Kim, 35-1. Almost feels like a better first round leader, but then he does outright bet. But we have seen things come together for Siwoo Kim from time to time. 4th best staff hit, 7th best in recent form, 13 straight made cuts. I mean, the one concern with him is the 43rd place finish at this event last year. Kind of oh well with that. And then looking at Harris English and Matt Fitzpatrick, and I kind of want to just compare those two because to me, they are kind of similar on paper. We have seen Fitzpatrick get better results recently than has Harris English. And I think that's going to be the appeal for a lot of people is the fact that Fitzpatrick has had more upside recently. But go back a little bit further, Harris English has been a little bit more hit or miss. Obviously, this is good track for him. Both of them are going to be pretty good stat fits. But let's take a peek at their odds. So Harris English, more of a long shot bet. Like I wanted to get a long shot bet in there, and he was the most logical one to me. Like again, I think Austin Eckroat and Taylor Moore, great top 20 bets, as is Harris English. If you're gonna bet on Harris English and you like what I'm calling out for Harris English, that's probably the best bet, just as an FYI. But you can get him at 55-1 on FanDuel. Pretty good odds. Bet 365 if you guys are someone that uses that. Points bet 55-1 as well. And then Fitzpatrick. This kind of feels more of a lucky bet. Taylor Pendrith last week was a very lucky bet. It's not exactly in that category. Matt Fitzpatrick is the top 6 pick this week. And so it's more taking advantage of those odds that we are getting on him. 40-1 is pretty crazy for a guy that has been trending in the right direction for quite some time. Looking at it, top 20 or better in 3 of the key stats that we're looking at. The only one bad stat is going to be key stat number 3, which is going to be greens gained. That can be concerning. You really do need to hit greens at this track to avoid the big mistakes. Recent form has been getting much better, really, since that driver snafu that he had. 5th, 10th, 22nd, 28th, 11th. So love that there from him. Obviously, one of those was the team event. I like looking at the team events. I know a lot of people don't. But over his last 5 starts, guys, ranks 5th in recent form race. So that is pretty appealing. 14th best specialist, 17th best in course history rank. Limited field event, not a big thing there. But yeah, he's coming in as a very good player, kind of under the radar. He's someone that for DFS purposes, I kind of hate that he's popping up because we know to do these fair and balanced builds in these no-cut events. And because he's popping up so much at a price tag that I typically just avoid, I kind of hate that. And that's kind of the trap of these no-cut events is that a player like Matt Fitzpatrick typically pops up more than he probably should be in a lot of my builds. And so I do kind of want to show you guys my slips that I have going for the Myrtle Beach Classic. I don't know how that's going to work with the screens that I have pulled up right now. So I'm trying to finagle that here real quick. This will work. So let me switch over. All right. So I have a bunch in there for $10 bets for the Myrtle Beach, just as an FYI. But let's start with my favorite outright bets. I already mentioned Ben Martin being one of those. His odds have reduced a little bit. Hopefully that's not because of me. He is someone that pops up. Kelly Kraft is someone that was at 75-1 earlier on this week. He is now at 65-1. That's a little bit unfortunate. EVR, the top play this week, DFS wise, 28-1. That's what I like about this type of event is that we typically are getting some very good odds on some good players. Justin Lauer, 40-1. Andrew Novak, 45-1. Ben Griffin, now the favorite. Interesting there. And wow. So I really thought his top 40 line was great earlier on. It's gotten a little bit worse. It was like 205 earlier this morning. Don't love that. EVR, minus 200. I still think that that's a good top 40 bet, but they kind of mess with these top 40 lines, but I do think these are good edges here. So Andrew Novak to top 40. Feel like that's a good one. If you want to parlay these together, I think that's kind of a good idea. I don't want to encourage that too much. Just make profitable bets, which are going to be these single ones that you can make. But Novak, Lauer, Ben Martin, I feel like those are strong bets. Kelly Kraft, I really like Kelly Kraft this week as well. So let's get into that real quick. Just looking at those top plays. So jumping into it. And this is basically why. I'm basically going off the 9-to-5 model. This is how we were able to hit Bryce Garnett 90-1 at the last event that was like this. What was that? The Puerto Rico Open? I believe that was the Puerto Rico Open. I didn't want to be on Billy Horschel. What was that one? Corrales? I can't think of it. But looking at guys, Kelly Kraft. Now, this is a very small sample size. I understand that. And if you look at it from like DraftKings perspective, Kelly Kraft only has 2 starts, and he missed the cut the Puerto Rico Open. But that was one bad start. He was a play that we really liked that week as well. Just had one bad round in there, a terrible round, but he still shot under par. Obviously, we don't love that, but I'm kind of okay with all right, upsides there. We've seen that from him consistently. 13th, 11th, miscut, 19th. Kind of okay with that. We go back further, it's going to still be the same. He makes it a lot of sense for a top 40 bet, assuming that he's on his game, because we go to the game log. He has 1 miscut over his past 9 starts. That is pretty darn spectacular. And so that's why I think he's one of the best top 40 bets. Specialist-wise, 18th, 4th best recent form, 3rd best stat bet. Now, again, these stats are going back a little bit further. Really a small sample size when you look at it just from this season standpoint, but he's something that's popping. EVR, I mentioned this in the write-up for the Myrtle Beach Classic. It's kind of crazy that he's the top price play and one of the best odds to win. And the form is pretty bad, relatively speaking. I mean, over his past 4 starts at least, but long-term, still 3rd best in the field. That makes sense. And then Novak, Lauer, Ben Griffin, you guys can see that. I want to touch on Ben Martin, though. Ben Martin does have South Carolina ties. Now, looking at it, where he's from and everything, that's all 4 hours away. So I don't know if he's actually played this course, but it's nice to see that he's actually from South Carolina. Should somewhat have a good familiar feel with the nuances that maybe go into a track like that. I'm kind of going to assume that he's played this, but I don't want to make that assumption. The nice thing about him is that he still has a great play on paper. 8th best pick in the 9-to-5 mile, 11th best specialist. Good-ish stat point, not great, not bad. Recent form, definitely spotty, but good enough as well. Just a good enough play, and I like the local ties. Now, the two players that I'm worried that I'm not on that I should be outright wise is Dylan Wu and Sam Stevens, and then even Chan Kim. But really, Dylan Wu and Sam Stevens, and more so Dylan Wu. Dylan Wu's made 6 straight cuts now. He's the third best specialist in the field. Then you look at Sam Stevens, also made 6 straight cuts, not as good of a specialist. And the reason why I'm referencing specialist data a lot more in this video, if you guys aren't familiar with that, that's all the unique characteristics for that week's tournament going into one data point. So that's kind of my substitute for course history this tournament. Instead of looking at something like a comp course, that's what I'm looking at here right now. And so I am defaulting to that. So that's why I like something like Dylan Wu a little bit more. I might be getting on him a little bit more. That's the one player that I'm kind of wanting to jump on. Then real quickly, let's go ahead and jump into some ownership here. Got to find that tab. And then that's pretty much going to be it. So if you guys have any questions, get those in. If not, I'll be getting out of here shortly. So I expect these ownerships to really rise up for some of these guys like Clark and Rory. This is probably going to get to 35%. With the ownership projections that I'm pulling in, one's really high, I think, and another one of them is really low, which is, I think, creating kind of a weird averages that's going on. And so definitely interesting with some of the ownerships that we're getting. In terms of players that are over-owned, yes, Willie Z's kind of clearly owned, but it's a no-cut event. Like 11%'s like nothing, honestly. If that's the issue with these no-cut events, it's like I really don't see an issue with any of the ownerships that we have going on right now this week. Like if you're trying to find a small edge, I think the direct edge there would be being on Corey Connors more than Will Zalatoris, who's about 3% higher owned, 2%, I guess, 9.4 to 11.9. That's really it. I get why people are chasing Willie Z, because his upside is potentially winning. I get that. And I wouldn't talk anyone out of that, but I would rather be on Adam Scott, who in comparison is a much better play on paper. It makes sense, but we don't really need to care about ownership in a no-cut event. People don't play it. I don't want to say correctly because you're just spreading it out, but there's nothing that's alarming to me. Like it just feels correct. I don't know if you guys see something there. By all means, you can make your own decision from that. But just across the board, it just seems correct. So I'm kind of okay with it. And then I did just want to get into the lineup builder as well. Don't need to get into the value report for this week. I feel like I already hammered that home as well. So let's pull it up here. You guys, I'm going to have to resize this slightly. So let me do that. Again, first live stream in a minute here, golf-wise, so apologies. But we're making it work. It's going all right. If you guys have any questions, again, get those in. Happy to answer those. That's really why I want to start doing the live streams more and more. Okay, so you can kind of see that. Not the best here. I want to look at it in standpoint of usage. So Myrtle Beach, you guys don't really care about. Let's get into Wells Fargo. And Myrtle Beach, I don't want you guys to use those as an FYI. But I typically go 40%. I'm going pretty heavy on Rory and Xander. I want them in all my builds pretty much. Well, not all of them, 40% of my builds. And then I'd basically let the lineup optimizer do what it needs to do, kind of limiting some exposures here and there, but not getting too crazy. And so you guys will see my ownerships are, I guess, kind of heavy. I mentioned I really want to be on Taylor Moore, Austin Eckroat. I'm on them pretty heavy because it's a no-cut event. I want to pair those two up with the top two plays in Rory Xander because chances are those two players that are kind of a little bit underpriced are going to finish just as good as someone that's $1,000 more expensive than them. The point differential that we can get from hitting a winner in Rory or Xander, a top 5 finish with those guys compared to a top 20 place finish, that's much greater. That's what we want to be chasing. And so pairing up Rory and Xander and Clark with those good values to me makes sense. Now, maybe you guys disagree. Maybe you like some of the other better values. I like Andrew Putnam. That's what I'm pairing up with. But this is kind of what I'm looking at for this week. And then I just really try to get thin. Like I wanted to get 10 to 5% of ownership of basically everyone else in the field. And so that's where I went there. And then round one wise, I'll show you guys it. Really, I just wanted to make sure. Let's see what it was. Yeah, I really just want to make sure that I was getting a heavy amount of Xander, Clark, and Rory. Rory was more difficult to get into builds though because he was $300 more. That was the biggest constraint there. I don't really like the builds I have for round one showdown. That's a little bit of concern. I'm kind of expecting round one showdown to be a push. It is again, no cut event. Tough to get unique with that stuff. But that is going to do it for this live stream. About a 26-minute live stream. Doesn't need to be too crazy. Again, first one. If you guys are watching this after this video has been posted, let me know in the comment section if you enjoyed this. Even after this video, if you guys are watching this and you enjoyed this, whether it be on Twitter or on YouTube, just let me know if you guys enjoyed the live stream content. I would love to get this out to you guys a little bit more on Wednesday. When I started doing fantasy golf coverage, I did a lot more live streams, and I enjoyed it. Enjoyed answering questions and whatnot. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video. Appreciate you guys being here. Good luck this week in your DFS and fantasy golf lineups. Appreciate you guys being here. Good luck. And as always, keep cashing.